I'm Michael Seitz, joined by Alberto Calderon, and this is Cal and Seitz. We don't have one or two special guests today. We have three. Rejoining us are Nick Rizzo and Tom Sipe, and we have a very special guest in the top left corner, Nick Morabito, all the way from Rochester, New York. How are you doing tonight, Morabito?
Doing fantastic. Any day with the Knicks game is going to be great.
Absolutely. Tom, how are you doing today? Thomas? We don't have Tom. Do we have
Oh,
Tom?
my Wi-Fi cut out. I'm good. I can hear you. I'm here.
Leave it to Tom to ruin the intro as Rizzo leaves. Okay, we'll get right into it. Alberto, your Yankees signed DJ LeMahieu to a 6-year, $90 million contract this afternoon. I need your initial reaction on this.
Let's go, man. Bring him back to the Bronx. I mean, we needed him. I don't care how much we needed to pay for him, for how many years we needed to lock him up for. We needed him. I mean, he's one of the best players, one of the best pure hitters in all of major leagues. So I love it, man. Bring him back. Love it.
All right. Another resident baseball expert, Tom Sipe. What are your thoughts on this deal? I know you have a lot to say about this.
Well, the Yankees had to do it. I mean, that's the glaring obvious. They had to do it. He's the only stable piece of that lineup, and he really completes that very deep lineup. But in terms of the contract structure, I think, giving him 6 years into his age 38 season is just a mess. I think that they did solid because they only guaranteed him $90 million. If you're going to give him $90 million, I'd rather have given him 100 over 4. Like I rather say, hey, I'll give you more money for a shorter period of time, because again, that's an aging second baseman, right? Who, over time his bat speed's going to decrease, and that's the only thing he has going for him. Obviously, he has like great eye ability to go the all fields, but you have to think of this. You're giving him all this money. You're going to have to pay Aaron Judge. You're going to have to pay Gleyber Torres, a few other stars down the line as well. And that's going to be really tight. So it's going to be interesting to see how it goes. But giving DJ LeMahieu 6 years is kind of just a mess, I think.
Okay. Alberto, do you have a response to that?
I agree with you. 6 years is going to lead him into his age 38 season. He is already 32, basically just doing the math. You're right. I would have, liked for a little bit less, maybe 3-4 years for more money. Obviously, they negotiated something like that, but I guess LeMahieu wanted – he had to have wanted more years. He wanted to stick around. He would have taken less money for more years. I mean, who wouldn't have? So there must have been something there. But as long as he's in that lineup, as long as he's, still producing at an MVP caliber level, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, and I guess, the one part of it could be, you give him more years to, fluctuate out the money. Yeah. So, you have that room for Torres and Judge, but I don't know. I just feel like that's taken up a hole down the line. But listen, don't get me wrong. This had to be done. The Yankees championship window is obviously glaringly open. They needed to do this, and they did. So, rightfully so. So don't get me wrong. It's a good deal. Like they had to get him back. But I'm just looking at the structure of the deal, and down the line, I think it might be a little tough. But listen, if they win a championship, it doesn't matter. That's how I kind of
exactly.
So if they win a championship, then it doesn't matter.
Exactly, and like you said, they needed to bring him back. That was their one big, huge, glaring need this offseason was bring back LeMahieu. Contract's a little suspect, but like you said, if they win a championship, that's really all that matters. All right, let's move from the baseball to basketball now, and we're talking about the blockbuster trade that happened earlier this week. James Harden going to the Nets. It was a 4-team deal altogether. The Cavs received 2 players, including Jared Allen. The Nets received James Harden and a second-round pick. The Pacers received Karis LeVert and a second-round pick. And the Rockets get a handful of players, including Victor Oladipo. They get 4 first-round picks. Those are the Nets in 22, 24, and 26. The Cavs pick in 22, and pick swaps with the Nets in 21, 23, 25, and 27. Tons of picks going the Rockets' way. Looks like they're ready to rebuild with all those draft picks. We're going to go right to you, Rizzo. Thoughts on this one?
You know what? I think it'll be interesting to watch Brooklyn, obviously, with that much firepower. It'll be interesting to see how well those 3 can gel together, considering they're very ball-dominant basketball players. But in terms of the Rockets, I think they got the better end of the deal with their younger group still playing well. John Wall, DeMarcus Cousins, an up-and-comer, and Christian Wood, and then you throw Victor Oladipo into there. I think that'll end up good for them.
All right, Morbido.
Dude, I don't know. I mean, I am not a Kyrie fan, man. I think he's mentally unstable. I think it's going to be a complete just cluster over there. And again, being a Knicks fan, I'm rooting for that. I'm excited to see Harden and Durant reunited. I think that's cool. But I don't know. Kyrie's all over the place. He just got fined today for something, like no mask at a party. I don't know. It's going to be an experiment. I hope they're not successful, though. I really do.
So you guys know I'm not the biggest NBA guy myself, and the little I do know about the NBA, this is what this trade reminds me of. It reminds me of when Brooklyn went out and got Kevin Garnett in that big package from Boston and basically screwed themselves for the next, 6 or 7 years. That's kind of what this reminds me of with all the draft picks they're giving up. And I just don't see these three, Durant, Irving, and Harden, working well together at all. I could see them winning tons of regular season games and maybe a playoff series or two, but I don't think this is a championship recipe with three ball hogs, honestly. So, Alberto.
That situation is a little bit different. Obviously, the draft pick scenario is still the same. It's consistent. But Kevin Garnett was aging. He was 37 years old. Paul Pierce was 35, 36 years old. Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Kyrie Irving are still all in their primes. And I agree with Morbido here. You know, I can see a situation happening a couple months down the line where it's going to be a James Harden, Kevin Durant versus Kyrie feud. Kyrie, he just doesn't seem interested in playing basketball anymore, is what it seems to me. So it's going to be hard to see these guys, all three of them, gel. I can see KD and Harden having a good time together, but Kyrie being that guy, the guy that he usually is, you know, his weird self. I don't really like it for Brooklyn here.
All right, Tom.
Well, listen, there's no doubt about it that, you know, rules in colleges and high schools are now going to be, hey, instead of you can't use the Warriors in 2K, I guess you can't use the Nets in 2K now. But listen, just talking about this deal, I mean, Nick, you sound like my dad because he's, you know, a diehard Knicks fan, and he's just like, I hope this all blows up. But I think it does have a legitimate chance. I mean, let's just go through it. KD, look, I was kind of wrong. I thought he was only going to be 80% or, you know, 75% of what he was, and he looks like 100. So he's fantastic so far. Harden, I mean, we all know how ball dominant he is, how, you know, teammates sometimes don't like playing with him because, you know, he takes probably 50% of the shots on any given night. And then Kyrie, we've seen him do it in Boston. We've seen him do it now. He just gets up and leaves whenever he feels like it. So, you know, how do we know that? Listen, it's happening in early January. How do we know it's not going to happen in March and April? How do we know that? How do we know that he's even back by then? Who knows? Yeah. So we've seen that, you know, how do we know that it's going to clash? We don't. And then just talk about some other teams of the deal because I do find it kind of interesting. I mean, Mike, you mentioned, Houston's looking for a whole rebuild, but they also have an all ACL team with DeMarcus Cousins, John Wall, and Victor Oladipo. You know, they have all those guys, and, you know, they have the draft picks, but, you know, they still have all these overpaid stars, you know, for such a long time. I think the Cavs did a pretty good job on their end of the deal. But yeah, it was just a really complex and interesting deal. So I don't know. For the Nets, do I see them winning a championship? I don't know. I wouldn't commit to it. I think they have a good chance, but I wouldn't commit to it like others are. Houston's just a mess. I think the winner of this is probably Cleveland, but that's just not being, you know, so specific on.
I think Houston personally won the trade, just all those draft picks, and you get Oladipo and couple it with getting a cancer off your team and James Harden. I think that's a win-win-win for Houston. Morbido, who won this trade?
I like Houston with the picks. I like Oladipo over there. I really like Houston with all the picks. Cleveland, close second, though. You know, they gave up so much to get something with that Kyrie factor, man. He's all over the place. We saw what happened in Boston. Nothing. You know what I mean? Like, I just have no faith in Kyrie whatsoever. I also heard something, I don't know, I was watching ESPN. Kyrie would go in Cleveland, a couple practices, didn't even talk to any of his teammates. Like, I don't know if you guys have heard that, but he would not say a word. Like, I don't know who does that. I just don't understand him. But Houston won the trade.
Weird dude. All right. Rizzo.
I had already mentioned I think Houston got a lot better with it because obviously if you listen to DeMarcus Cousins talk, but like the day before Harden got traded, they had said how the disrespect from Harden came from how he showed up this year, what he was doing in the offseason, how he's talked about that team. And now you get that off and those guys all like are willing to come together. And you add a future with all those draft picks, they get a lot better.
All right. Alberto, real quickly, who won this trade?
Houston. They just got to get rid of John Wall and DeMarcus Cousins and just draft wisely, very wisely, and keep Oladipo around. He's a good player. I like him.
Now, I do want to make a quick. I do want to make a quick point real quick. I know my Wi-Fi is pretty bad, so I'm going in now. But I think one thing that hasn't been talked about enough.
We're losing Tom on the Wi-Fi here. We can get back to Tom in a minute if he comes back with that, but I'll move on for now to the game tonight. It is Knicks and Cavs. We got our two Knicks fans, Morbido and Tom, our Cavs guy, Rizzo. Or Tom, are you back?
Yes, I am back.
Okay, what was your point then?
Oh, my point was that the winner of Wednesday, it wasn't that trade. It was the Houston Indiana Pacers trade with Karis LeVert going to Indiana. I think that Indiana's a sleeper team for the NBA Finals, 1,000% with Sabonis and Malcolm Brogdon so far this year, and Adam LeVert is such an important piece. So when I said the winner of that trade was maybe Cleveland if it's not Brooklyn, the winner of Wednesday was Indiana. That was the point I was trying to think.
Fair enough. Okay, so Knicks Cavs. Both teams had hot starts, have struggled lately, both 5-7. This game is in Cleveland. The Knicks are 2-point favorites. We're going to start with you, Tom, while your Wi-Fi is still with us. I want a key to the game and who wins.
The key to the game is if the Knicks can put the ball in the hoop before the last 5 minutes of the game. They've struggled so mightily over their 4-game losing streak. They had 100 and whatever points it was on Wednesday. But before that, they couldn't even crack 90, which, is just completely unacceptable in the NBA today. So, they have to come out strong early. That's such a vital piece. I think it's going to be interesting to see how Tom Thibodeau runs his, how the point guard rotation is today. Will it be Elfrid Payton, who has, his up and down games, but has been kind of more stable than Emmanuel Quickley has. But if you watch Quickley on Wednesday, he was phenomenal. He was fantastic. And right after the game, he came out and he was shooting. There was videos of that. So now I would love to see Quickley tonight. He ate up Cleveland in the preseason. I know it's the preseason, but he did do that then. So I think the key to the game is, off to a strong start. And, I think the X factor for the Knicks is going to be RJ Barrett. If he's able to knock down a few shots, not even threes, just shots in general, if he's able to get going, the Knicks will be in good business. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
All right, Rizzo, a key to the game and who wins?
I'm going to agree with Tom on the key to the game is going to be for the Knicks to be able to capitalize because I don't see a way the Cavs can even win this game no matter how bad the Knicks play. They're without so many players. Colin Sexton out, Andre Drummond game time decision. Kevin Love's been out for their past 5 games. Darius Garland's not playing. I am a fan of the team, and I couldn't even tell you who's going to play. So, the Knicks pretty much better win this game.
All right, fair enough. Morbido, pick and a key.
Key to the game is going to be the 3-ball for the Knicks. We've been super inconsistent from 3 and 2s too, where our shooting is terrible. It is terrible. If the Knicks can hit 3s, 40% even, I think they'll win the game. And my X factor is Julius Randle. I think he's playing great. Again, turnovers are an issue for him. But if he gets 30 a night for us and he carries our team, I'm going to be really happy with that. And we've won 3 straight against Cleveland. It's away, but I'm excited for that. I think Julius Randle puts the team on his back tonight.
All right, Albert, a key and a pick.
All right, so my key to the game, is actually the X factor. It's going to be Alfred Payton. Alfred Payton's a big floor general for those guys. He needs to be able to probe inside the paint, inside the three-point arc. And if he can dish it out to Randall, he can dish it out to quickly all the three-ball shooters over there, and they can win. And if Payton can shoot some shots, if he makes some shots, they'll win the game. So Alfred Payton. I like Alfred Payton a lot.
All right. Obviously, like I said before, don't know much about the NBA. Can't really tell you anything about either of these teams, but I'm going Knicks, and I'm feeling a high-scoring game tonight. Something's telling me that. So we're going with Knicks and over 196.5. That's my NBA take of the century right there. It's probably the only one I'll ever give. All right, let's go
It's
to
a very
the NFL.
low over-under.
I know. So let's go to the NFL. We had Wild Card Weekend play out last weekend. The divisional round is set. We're going to dive right on into it. Our first game Saturday at 4:35 on Fox. The Rams head up to Lambeau to play the Packers. Couple interesting stats on this one. Jared Goff, when playing in 35 degrees or cooler, is 0-2. And then the Packers, Aaron Rodgers, whenever he faces a number 1 overall pass defense in his career, is 0-4. Both those things will be occurring on Sunday afternoon. We're going to start with Alberto. Green Bay is 6.5-point favorites. What's going to happen here?
This is going to be a fun game. I actually like that stat because I wrote something very similar. You know, when Rodgers faces a top 5 defense, or his last 5 exits in the NFL playoffs have been to top 5 defenses. San Francisco, those Seattle teams, the Arizona team one year. So if I can see the Rams keeping this game close. If Ramsey can lock up Devontae Adams, and if after that it's pretty much a mess for Green Bay because their next best target is probably Robert Tonyan, their tight end. But if the Rams, they can go to a cover 3, cover both tight ends, there's no other option out there. Lazard, Equanimeous St. Brown, you can't throw those guys, especially in that type of weather. I expect the Packers to go out there and win, but I expect them to cover. But I wouldn't be surprised I expect them to cover, but I wouldn't be surprised if I see an upset on 4:30 on Saturday. I wouldn't.
All right, Rizzo. I think I stole your stat, but you want to go next?
Yeah, I was going to bring both of those up because I heard those earlier this week. But in terms of the game itself, I think the Packers have the potential to definitely win by more than 7, but I would not be surprised also if the Rams can steal one, just taking control of the game. Packers defense isn't great, but I mean, the Rams offense isn't anything crazy either. But I mean, Aaron Rodgers is going to have a pretty good game up there for them to take control.
So you're taking the Packers?
Yes.
All righty. Morbido, we got -6.5 for Green Bay here. Who are we taking?
I think the Rams will cover the spread. It's going to be a close game, but I like the Packers. I love Devontae, and I love Aaron Rodgers. I love them playing together, and I love the Ramsey versus Adams matchup. I'm super excited to see that. It's going to be close. I love the Rams defense. Aaron Donald's a beast. Ramsey again's a beast. It's going to be a close one. But I do think the Packers might squeeze it out. Maybe some late Aaron Rodgers magic. Who knows? But it's going to be close.
All right. I'll go next here before Tom, who likes to steal all my takes, and he accuses me of doing the same thing. So I'll go first here before Tom. There's so many good matchups in this game. You got the Ramsey, Adams one. You got Donald and the whole Packers offensive line. You got Rodgers versus the number 1 scoring defense, overall defense, and pass defense. There's so many good things that can come out of this game, but I'm going to talk about the matchup that nobody else is talking about, and I'm going to say Cam Akers against that Green Bay run defense. That could be a very big trouble spot if Green Bay's not careful. And I think the Packers do win this game, but I don't think they cover. I think they win by 3 or maybe on like that late touchdown that Morabito alluded to. But watch out for Cam Akers versus that Green Bay run defense. It could be a long day for Green Bay there. Tom. Maybe. Tom. We don't have Tom again. That's there he is.
We do have Tom. We do have Tom. I'm sorry. All right, so what I got is I don't really know. Listen, you guys have to realize that. I'm sorry, I'm still a little flustered. I'm trying to figure this out. But, you guys have to realize this is the most talented quarterback of all time, right? Of Aaron Rodgers. And listen, the Rams defense is very good. There's no denying that. And I'll admit, I was wrong last week because I thought they were going to get killed against Seattle, and Seattle was just a dumpster fire the second half of the year. So I should have realized that, but I was wrong. You have to realize that this is, again, the most talented quarterback of all time. This is Aaron Rodgers. This is Green Bay offense. And you want to talk about one thing that nobody mentioned was the Los Angeles Rams offense, which, by the way, it is not very good. With a healthy Jared Goff or not. Again, he had surgery just a few weeks ago. He came in, he played solid enough. John Wolford's not going to be able to play, so they have no backup if he gets hurt again. No one mentioned the Rams offense.
Whoa. Respect Blake Bortles, please.
Listen, Blake Bortles has
come on now.
Blake Bortles has a higher QBR in the playoffs than Tom Brady. Okay, that's a fact. But so that's true. But you have to. Listen, the Rams offense isn't scoring more than 10 points. I'm going to come out and say that now. Packers are going to win by 2 scores. I don't think it's going to be very close. I think the Rams do have a good defense. You can give me all the defense stats, Aaron Rodgers, and whatever. I don't care. But the Packers are winning by 2 scores, and it's not going to be very close from the jump.
So that's 5 Green Bay picks, a clean sweep here on the panel. I just want to point out that I was the only one out of the 4 of us on last week's show that picked the Rams. So, yeah. Okay, we'll move on.
I picked the Rams to cover.
Yeah, not to win, though. Okay, so Bills, Ravens in Buffalo on Saturday night, 8:15 NBC. Should be Michaels and Collinsworth on the call. Possible snow in the forecast up in Buffalo. Lamar Jackson's never played in a snow game before. Buffalo is 2.5-point favorites. And if your Wi-Fi is working, sir, we'll go right to you, Tom. And we lost. Oh, wait, is he there?
We'll start with Meg. I think I heard you say that.
Yes.
Oh, I can hear you. Yeah, I'm trying. I promise. I haven't had these issues ever. All right. So when talking about, I don't know if you guys can hear me.
We're struggling with Tom here today. We'll come back to you, Tom. Let's go to Morbido. Bills, Ravens. Bills minus 2.5.
It's going to be super close. I think the Ravens might win the game, but it's a complete toss-up for me. I'm not concerned about that stat about Lamar not playing in the winter. I don't think that really matters. The Bills gave up a lot of points to the Colts last week. Jonathan Taylor exposed some stuff. Bills' offense is phenomenal. In the past, I've been critical of Josh Allen, but he's a phenomenal quarterback. Even if I like him or not, he's fantastic. You can't deny that. Lamar's great too. He came into his own last week. He played a good game. It's going to be close. I'm going to go with the Ravens, but again, it's a complete toss-up. That Bills' run defense is going to have to be there, though.
All right. Alberto now in my top right corner. Who we got?
So this is the game that is going to expose Josh Allen, right? I said last week that he was going to face adversity at one point in these playoffs, that he was going to face adversity. And not only is the weather going to play a factor, it's going to be that Ravens defense. And the defense from Baltimore is really good. They're not top 5 in the league, but they're still a solid defense. And, this is the game that's going to differentiate Allen's top QB play from a Super Bowl QB play. He's not gonna dice up this Ravens defense. He's not. And quite honestly, the Ravens are gonna win this game. I don't care if it's snowing, they have no shot. The Bills have no shot of winning this game. Who are they gonna run the ball off to? To Devin Singletary? That's not gonna work. So if it's snowing, they have no shot. So the Bills better hope it's a nice, clear night, no snow. So I got the Ravens winning this game. I like Lamar running all over that defense. Maybe he's going to have to throw a couple times, but, a couple meaning maybe 15, 20 times max. But I like them running all over that defense. I like the Bills 24-7 or the Ravens 24-17.
All right. I heard the words Josh Allen and adversity in the same sentence, so we're going to Tom now.
It's great that I fixed my Wi-Fi issues, and that's the first thing I hear. So that was just wonderful. First of all, I apologize, but
Good.
listen, let's talk about the Ravens offense first before I get into the snow stuff. We're not going to see the same Ravens offense that we saw last week against Tennessee. They ran all over Tennessee. That's not going to happen again. The Bills had a week to prepare. Their run defense has always been, somewhat there. That's not going to happen again. They've played against Lamar before last year in Buffalo, and they held them. They actually lost 24-17. So it's funny that that was the score that you said. But listen, that's just not going to happen again. Josh Allen is also, now let's go into Josh Allen. Josh Allen is no stranger to the snow, right? He's played many games, whether it was in college and whether it's now in the NFL. He's no stranger to snow. The Bills are no strangers to snow. So, I do understand your point that if it does snow, it's going to be a little bit closer than maybe if it was, without snow, right? But at the end of the day, the Bills' offense is going to overpower this Ravens defense. They look good in the second half of Tennessee last week, but Tennessee, listen, they have AJ Brown and Derrick Henry. I mean, he only had 60 yards or whatever, 62 yards, so he didn't do anything. But they have no passing game, and the Bills do. They have a far superior passing game. So I do think if it's snow, I do think it will be a little bit closer. I think it's gonna be close no matter what. But sorry, I got the Bills in this one, and I think what's gonna happen is the Bills are gonna jump out early. I think the Ravens are gonna creep back like they did last week, but an effort's gonna fall short.
All right. So before we get to Rizzo, I just like to say I hate agreeing with Tom. And this game is played between a team that I've been born to hate in the Baltimore Ravens and a team that I've grown to hate in the Buffalo Bills. It's tough for me to pick this one, but I'm going to have to go with my AFC favorite Buffalo Bills in this one. And I think it's going to be close. I think this is the best game of the weekend. I think Tyler Bass makes a field goal as time expires to win this game 31-28.
Buffalo
Rizzo. Oh, I know. It'd be crazy. Rizzo.
You know what? I agree with you in the sense that Baltimore was a team that I was born to have to hate. And you know what? Being around here and not liking the Bills, same thing goes for the Bills. But in terms of the Ravens defense against Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs as their number one playmaker whenever you need it, him going up against whether it's Marlon Humphrey, whether it's Marcus Peters, anyone in that secondary, I think Diggs is going to have a good game against whoever they match up with him for the Bills to win because they can't run the ball. And Baltimore could easily control the game running the ball with Lamar or Dobbins or whoever it is against the Bills defense. But I do agree. I think the game will be probably the best of this weekend. And I'm going to reverse what I think you said. And Justin Tucker is going to make a game-winning field goal to send Baltimore to the AFC Championship.
All right, so we got 3 Ravens, 2 Bills here on the panel.
I think you guys are giving the Bills defense a lot of credit here. They're not that good.
The 28 points. I have it 31.
I'm not talking about last week. I'm talking about the duration of the entire season. They're not that good, and to think that they can contain Lamar that's not their. Well, his running game is completely false. They're not. Lamar's gonna run all over those dudes. If you think Matt Milano is gonna contain Lamar, that's false. Listen, they're gonna have to force him to throw, and I don't think he's gonna have to throw. I just don't think so. And Baltimore is gonna win this game. Josh Allen, he's gonna trail in this game, and he's gonna have to throw into tight windows between Marcus Peters and Marlon Humphrey.
He's done it before. He's thrown into tight windows before. Lamar's the one who hasn't thrown into tight windows before.
Lamar's not gonna have to do a lot of work throwing the ball. He can run the ball, and he's gonna run the ball. He's gonna do whatever he wants with that ball. I'm saying Josh Allen is gonna have to throw in those tight windows when it's snowing, when it's 20 degrees outside. His fingers are frozen. to Stephon Diggs only. Who knows if Beasley's going to play? We don't know. His next
Okay.
best option is Gabriel Davis. That's not going to happen. That's not.
Okay, so the after the Hail Murray game, the game that Kyler Murray to the Hail Murray to DeAndre Hopkins, Bills lose in Arizona. The Bills, 17 points allowed to Justin Herbert and the high-powered Chargers, 24 to the Niners, 15 to the Steelers, 19 to the Broncos, 9 to the Patriots, and 26 to the Dolphins. Sorry, Morbido. But most of those points were scored in garbage time anyway. So and then 24 to the Colts, who Jonathan Taylor is a very good back, ran all over them. Still, they have not been as bad as you're making them out to be. They were not good to start the year.
I'm not saying I'm making them bad. I'm saying you guys are making them.
They've had a fantastic second half of the year, the Bills defense has. And I'm not saying that necessarily continues on Saturday night, but I'm just saying that their offense is going to be too good. They're too used to the cold weather, and they're just going to be too much for the Ravens. The Ravens defense is very good too, but I'm just saying the Bills defense is going to do enough. They're going to do enough for Josh Allen and everybody else. Tom, do you have something to –
It's not how you start, it's how you finish. And when it comes to the NFL playoffs, a hot hand is always the team to go with.
And you saw that with the Seahawks and Rams.
And the Bills have been, I would dare to say, the hottest team in the NFL since their loss against Kansas City at home. I would say
Ravens have been equally hot. They haven't lost since.
Yeah, but the Ravens have played one good team in that span. That was last week.
You can't blame them for playing who they've played.
No, I'm just saying, but you got to look what you're basing this off of. You have the Bills who played a better schedule in that time frame than the Ravens have. And yes, both teams are rolling, but Buffalo's been number one and fuego.
Listen, if the Bills are down 14-7, 17-10, they're not going to win the game.
I feel like we've heard this argument before.
I don't think Josh Allen has trailed in a game this year.
Bills fans, if they're losing, just consider it over.
It's done.
It over.
The Ravens walk down the field and score to start the game. It's over. That's it.
No, I'm saying late. I'm saying late in the game.
Okay. All right, we'll just have to see. We will just have to see. Does anybody else have anything on this game, either Nick, before we move on?
I'm just going to say if Allen gets Diggs going, if those two get hot, the game's over. That's all I'm going to say. But also, if the Ravens shut Diggs down, it's over then. Because, they're throwing to Dawson Knox, another bum tight end. And then it's over. And I agree with Alberto. Gabriel Davis, while he's a good receiver, he's nothing special. Nothing compared to Diggs. But Diggs is fantastic.
Who's been able to stop him this year?
No, I'm not saying they're going to be able to stop him. I'm saying if they do, then it's over. Because then I don't know where the offense goes from there. Devin Singletary won't be able to run for anything. So.
And don't forget Zach Moss is injured too. Okay, let's go to Sunday, 3:05 on CBS. Should have Nanton Romo for that one. The Cleveland Browns, Lord help us, go to Kansas City to play the Chiefs. The Chiefs are 10-point favorites. I'm going to start on this one. I'm just going to say that is absolutely insulting to the Cleveland Browns that the Chiefs are 10-point favorites. The Chiefs' inability to close people out the last half of the year really should make this line a lot lower than what it is. And I do still think the Chiefs are going to win this game. But this is going to be a last-second either Mahomes magic touchdown drive or a Baker getting desperate interception. It's going to be one of the two. It's going to come down to that last drive. I like the Chiefs in a super high-scoring game. I don't care if the Browns are getting their top corners back. The Browns' defense isn't that great. The Chiefs' defense is worse than it was last year, and both these offenses are really good. Hunt and Chubb are going to be running all over the place. Mahomes is going to be throwing to everybody. Should be a fun one. I've got like a 45-41 game here. It's going to be super high-scoring. Throw it right to you, Rizzo.
All right, I agree with you. 10 or 9.5, whatever it is at now, is pretty insulting to the Browns, and especially for the Chiefs being the team who has lacked to cover and expected to blow teams out all year and failed to do so. I think if the Browns are going to keep this game close, I think they're going to need a special team touchdown or a defensive touchdown, or else Mahomes and that offense is just going to run away And whenever they're gonna need to make a play, the Chiefs are gonna make the play. Like, especially in the playoffs now, like Mahomes is just gonna be unstoppable.
That's what championship teams do. They make that play. Morbito, who you got?
I think the Browns are going to cover. I think the Chiefs are going to win. I agree. 10 is a lot of points, like a lot. Browns came into Pittsburgh last week and showed up. Super high scoring game. I think Mahomes will get it done, though. I agree with Rizzo on the defensive touchdown aspect, too. I think if they get a pick or maybe a pick six, something goes good defensively, they'll be a good game. But I think the Chiefs will win. But I think the Browns are going to lose by 3, 7. It'll be close. And definitely not 10. I agree. Disrespectful for sure.
All right, we'll go to Tom.
I don't understand why there's a narrative that, hey, the Chiefs are really good. We know they're really good. They haven't looked great the second half of the year. But once the playoffs come, they're going to look great. I've never understood that. I never understood why so many people say that, because why? They haven't looked that great. So, and, granted, great for Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs is, unlike any other, but they haven't looked as, sharp as maybe they did obviously last year. The Cleveland Browns came into Pittsburgh after an afternoon of practice without their head coach, without multiple defensive players, and annihilated them. It wasn't even close, as we all know. Just wanted to remind you. But
Yeah, thanks, Tom.
listen,
Thanks.
I think the lock of the century is Cleveland plus 10. And I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if Kevin Stefanski comes back, Baker plays even better than he did. Because he didn't play honestly, the Browns killed the Steelers last week, and Baker didn't even play great. He didn't even have to do too much. He didn't even play that fantastic.
28 after 5 minutes, you don't have to do much.
With Stefanski back, I think Baker's going to look much better. And listen, I'm going to say right now, I wouldn't be surprised if Cleveland came into Kansas City and won. It is Andy Reid in the playoffs. Obviously, won Super Bowl last year, but there have been times, very notably, that there's hiccups in the Chiefs when it comes to the playoffs. So I wouldn't be surprised. I am gonna go. I guess I'm gonna actually. You know what? I don't know. I've been so back and forth. Because I want to go Cleveland because I feel like there's a lot riding on them. I guess I'm going to say Kansas City's gonna win because that's the smarter pick, whatever. But listen, I wouldn't be surprised whatsoever. The Browns have two of the best running backs in the game on their own team. With Stefanski coming back, defensive additions, it's huge. So I wouldn't be surprised. I am going to pick Kansas City in a very close game. But I wouldn't be surprised.
AFC North, best division of football. Okay, Alberto, who you got in this one?
So I'm going to start off with saying, this trend with the Kansas City team as a whole has gone back to last year in the playoffs. Remember the Houston first half, complete garbage. The Tennessee first half, bad. And in the Super Bowl as well. They came back and won all 3 games. This is a different Browns team. If the Browns come out fired up like they did at Heinz Field last weekend and they go up by 10-14, it's going to be hard for Kansas City to come back and win this game. I don't like Mahomes not playing for 2 weeks. Listen, he's one of the best quarterbacks we've ever seen. He's only played for 3 years. I don't like that he's been off for 2 weeks already. I don't. That's a lot of time. And especially when the Browns have played last week. They've already played a full playoff game. Listen, the Chiefs have been there before, but I don't like Mahomes not playing for 2 whole weeks. Second, the Browns need to control the time of possession. If they have the ball for 35 minutes in this game and they run the ball with Chubb and Hunt, they're going to win this football game if they have it for 35 minutes. Because if Mahomes has it for 25, that's maybe only 4 or 5 long drives at most. So I'm going to say it right now because what do I have to lose? I'm going to say Cleveland pulls this game out. Baker plays a good game. Not great, but he plays a good enough game where he doesn't make a mistake. He doesn't make a key mistake. And Browns will win this game by 4 points.
Ooh,
I got the
all
Browns.
right. Hot take for Alberto.
You did what I was afraid to do.
I got the Browns. I like how they've been playing.
All right, 4 Chiefs, 1 Browns here. That sets up Alberto's AFC Championship Browns and Ravens, a Pittsburgh Steeler fan, worst nightmare. Okay, we'll move on to the Buccaneers and Saints. They are at Sunday at 6:40 on Fox. New Orleans is 3-point favorites. And Alberto, I'm going to go right back to you. Who
Okay.
are we liking down in New Orleans? Third time they've played this year. The Saints, 46 total points of victory if you combine the 2 wins this year.
Wow, that's pretty nuts. So this is a tough game for me. This is a tough pick. I'm gonna say I like Tampa Bay winning this game, but it's tough. We can throw out that the 2 wins for the Saints earlier on in the year with Tampa Bay. That doesn't mean anything. This is a different game. This is a different game with Brady and Breeze. It's different. Those 2 previous matchups, they don't mean anything right now because this is a divisional football game, a divisional playoff game, and I'm gonna say the Buccaneers win this game. This is gonna be Breeze's last game. Breeze is going to have to dice up this Buccaneers defense, and I think he can, but I think Brady's going to be able to do what a lot of people don't expect him to do. He's going to be able to throw around this Saints defense because I'm excited to see their defense, which probably has the best roster in the league, against the Buccaneers wideouts with Evans, Brown, and against the backs. We don't know if what's his name? Jones. We don't know if Jones is playing, but I like Fournette carrying the ball. But I like Tom Brady in this one. I like him.
All right, so that sets up Alberto's championship games as Bucks at Packers and Browns at Ravens. Interesting spread there. Yeah. All right, Morbido, who do we like in New Orleans?
I agree with Alberto. I think the Bucks will pull this one out. It's going to be close. I don't know about Breeze right now. I don't know about that Saints offense. Lack of explosion, you know what I mean? I agree with Alberto, honestly. I like Fournette or Jones, either or. I think Breeze comes out and he shows out. I think he's ready to go. He's fired up. They played good against a solid Redskins defense. I mean, I think I don't know if the Redskins defense is solid. I'm just saying that, but
no, they are.
I like the Bucks in this one. I didn't study much for this game. I don't really know much about it, but I like the Bucks.
Alrighty, so that sets up Morbido's championship games as Bucks at Packers and Ravens at Chiefs, correct? Alrighty. So, Rizzo, Buccaneers, Saints 3-point favorites. Sorry, Tom.
I think, as we know, it's tough to beat a team 3 times. The Saints have already beat the Buccaneers twice. Tom Brady in the playoffs is a different animal. You get Antonio Brown involved like they have to end the season. You have all those other weapons offensively. And again, I think it came down to it last week, like we said on the show, for the Buccaneers. It's going to be that defense. If that defense can show up and control Breeze, Kamara, and Michael Thomas, the Buccaneers win this game.
Okay. So you've got the Bucks and Packers and then the Chiefs and Ravens as well?
Yep.
Alrighty. Tom, I would love to go to you, but you're probably going to steal my take, so I'm going to go first. Sorry, my show. Okay. It's hard to beat a team 3 times in a year. The Saints are going to do that, though. The defense does what you need to do to beat Tom Brady, and that's get pressure on him. They've done it in the first 2 matchups. They held the Buccaneers to 3 points in Tampa earlier this year. The secondary has played well this year, especially later. I like Breeze getting hyped up for this game. Obviously, it could be his last. He doesn't want to go out losing to Tampa Bay in a division rival. I'm going to go with the Saints, and I think they beat them pretty good. And I think that defense has a bad game. Like I've been saying all year, I've never bought into the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, especially their defense. I think the defense has a bad game. I think Brady keeps it close for a while, and then in the second half, the Breeze and the Saints pull away. I like the Saints to cover easily. I like them by 2, maybe even 3 scores. I think this is going to be the worst game of the weekend from a competitive standpoint. I think it's going to be a blowout. So I've got the Saints and Packers and Bills and Chiefs. I know I'm boring. That was my original pick, so I'm going to stick with it. Tom, if you're with us. Maybe.
Nope.
No, Tom. Tom is not there.
Wait, so why do you think the Saints are going to beat the Bucs so badly? What makes you?
Because they get pressure. They get pressure on Tom Brady, and nobody else does. That was their key to winning those first two matchups. Is Cam Jordan and company got to Tom Brady. They put him on. They didn't even need to put him on the ground. They just made him get rid of the ball. They made him feel uncomfortable back there, and that's what you have to do to beat Brady. We saw it in New England. Now we see it here in Tampa Bay. They're going to get pressure, and like I said, I don't really think that the Tampa secondary is all that special. I really don't. So.
All right, so let's talk about that front four, though, because last week in Washington, that Tampa Bay D-line or the O-line really held up against Washington's D-line. And although they're rookies, I know they're 2-3 year starters in the NFL, they held up, and Tom Brady didn't get touched. He didn't get breathed on. Chase Young, remember when he won against Philly and he was talking about he wanted Tom Brady? He didn't touch him once. He didn't come within 5 yards of him.
Yeah, so that was good.
They're rookies. They're young guys. But I think that, Tampa Bay's O-line can hold up just enough against the Saints D-line. I think so.
That's fair. That's fair enough. But I also think Brady had them really hyped up for this game against Washington because he was not losing to a sub-500 team. He was not losing in the first round he's played in forever.
Yeah, I mean, but you can say the same thing here. He's not. Exactly. He doesn't want to lose to Drew Brees. He doesn't want to lose.
I understand that, but I think the situation was a little more dire that he made it out of the first round. So.
I mean, but you got to create the same scenario here. He doesn't want to lose to Drew Brees.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I could see Tampa winning, but I just don't think it's going to happen. So, Tom, are you back?
I am.
All right, Tom. What we got?
Well, I would appreciate if you stop assuming who I'm going to pick because you're wrong.
Good, I'm glad.
My standard rule of thumb, I think you alluded to it, is it's tough to be a team 3 times. My heart tells me New Orleans, but my brain is telling me Tampa Bay. I think that offense is going to be pretty solid against New Orleans. They had their struggles against Washington, but as I said last week, I kind of expected that. I expected that to happen. So I think overall, I'm going to keep this pretty short. I do think Tampa Bay comes out. I think it's going to be a great game. I think it's going to be the best game of the weekend. I think Tampa Bay does pull it out.
Okay. So you've got Tampa, Green Bay, and Buffalo, Kansas City.
I do.
Alrighty. So before we have one last item up on the schedule before we go. But before we get to that, still have my Super Bowl matchup as Packers over Bills. Tom, what is yours?
What do you think?
Bills over Packers.
Buffalo Bills over Packers. Easily Josh Allen MVP.
All right, Morbido, Super Bowl matchup. Who over who?
I do Packers Ravens. I think that'd be cool.
And who wins that one?
Packers. I love Rodgers right now. He's hot. And Devontae Adams, man. Those two are just phenomenal. Phenomenal.
All right, Alberto.
I got Green Bay versus Baltimore right now. I got to agree with Morbido. I like
and
it.
Who wins that one?
Green Bay. In a hell of a game.
Okay. And Rizzo.
You know what? I'm gonna go on the same side as the past two. Sorry. I'm gonna say Packers Ravens. The NFL MVP Aaron Rodgers has himself a hell of a game. Probably beats Baltimore by 2 touchdowns.
Okay, so we
wrong this week. You guys are all gonna be wrong this week. Yes, I agree with you, Rizzo.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
Rodgers, I love Rodgers, but you guys are all going to get your picks wrong this week. Listen, if Baltimore gets past Buffalo, they're not getting past Kansas City, or Cleveland. I don't care who.
Or Cleveland. No, I actually agree with you on that one, Tom. Okay, so one last order of business before we end this show.
Hold on, I have breaking news out of the NFL.
Do we listen to Rizzo is the question?
Yes.
I think so.
Not a huge deal, but Titans offensive coordinator Arthur Smith will now be the coach of the Atlanta Falcons.
Very nice, Nick. Good breaking news. I don't know anything about it.
Hey,
all right, we'll move on.
Breaking news on the show.
That offense looked great last week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good breaking news, Rizzo. Appreciate the contribution. But my last thing that I was going to say before I was interrupted by my guest, got to think better next time, Rizzo. The Duquesne Dukes travel to Olean to take on the St. Bonaventure Bonnies on ESPN2, nationally televised tonight. Bonnies are 8-point favorites. I think I speak for all of us when I say Bonnies by a million. Tom, who's winning tonight? Nationally televised game.
Bonnies by a million. Jaron Holmes dropped 62. I mean, St. Bonaventure are going to the NCAA tournament. They're going to the Final Four, going to the NCAA championship. Duquesne, as I like to call them, they stink. Everyone transferred. They're in shambles. Riley Center's going to be popping. It's going to be rocking. Bonnies by a million.
Cardboard cutouts are going to be crazy.
Listen, when I was there this past weekend. I was there this past weekend covering the girls' game. Electric. The pumped-in crowd noise couldn't be better.
Silence. Oh,
Bonnies by a million.
all right, Rizzo, who wins?
I mean, do I have to explain this one?
You don't have to explain it. Just give me a team.
Bonaventure wins, and I would like to throw in one thing. Duquesne only scored 45 points against Fordham. They might get beat by 60. Simple.
All right, fair enough. More beat up.
Bonnies win the game, but I think Duquesne covers. I mean,
Ooh.
8.5. I'm having flashbacks to the last time the Bonnies won ESPN against Davidson. I'm having flashbacks to that game.
Oh, we don't have to bring that up. Come on.
I know, it's a sore spot. But I'm thinking back to that. I think Duquesne plus 8.5 is a solid pick. But again, Jaron Holmes is playing phenomenally right now. He's great. I think the Bonnies are going to win the game, but I think Duquesne squeaks in a little bit. I don't know.
Nick, I actually agree with you. If I am being serious, Duquesne is in shambles. Like, they have lost like a crap ton of players. So many people are transferring. Everyone's sitting out. They were my preseason number 2 team in the Atlantic 10. But I if I was a betting man, I would not bet this game because I do think that Duquesne it's either going to be Bonnies by 20 or we're going to lose because I just like you, Nick, every time I think of national, I'm like, we never show up for big games.
Yeah.
We never show up.
Showed up against
We
Rhode
beat
Island.
Richmond. We won at Richmond. That was the one. But the last time we won a big game was Rhode Island 3 years ago or UCLA. Like, that's
we need
it.
a buzzer beater for the Richmond game, too, from Kyle Lofton, of all people.
Yeah, it's the only he has 2 threes all year, and that was one of them.
Exactly.
It was like in the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, and he just chucked it up. It was a prayer.
Francis would be proud of that shot.
Before I go to Alberto, I just want to say that the pregame and first 5 minutes of that Davidson game last year, we were sitting courtside, absolutely electric. Best crowd I've ever been in. Okay, Alberto, who wins tonight?
Bonnies, just make your 3-pointers. Duquesne can shoot the hell out of the ball. Just make your threes. Don Welch, please show up for one game. He hasn't had to, but
He hasn't done anything all year.
That's not true. That's not true.
These guys up here should be an answer for me.
He hasn't scored. He hasn't scored the ball at all.
That's true.
But he has like 10 rebounds every game. He does a lot defensively. He just hasn't scored the ball. He's troubleshooting. That's it.
To close this out, I also obviously take the Bonnies. Holmes and Attaway are just so good. They're going to continue what they're doing, I think, tonight. And I think it's close in the end, but then the Bonnies pull away within the last minute. Good free throw shooting will help that.
Jalen Attaway, number 2 in the country in field goal percentage.
Good stat, Thomas. We'll end on that. Thanks for watching.
We're getting killed.
Probably will. Thanks for watching, everybody. Be sure to like and subscribe if you already haven't. Leave down in the comments who you think's winning in the NFL this week, and if we're all idiots for picking the Bonnies by a million. That's all we have for tonight. We'll be back on Tuesday. Alberto and I will with reaction to the games this weekend, and maybe we'll have you 3 back on next Friday. Why not? Just keep good things rolling. Have a good one, guys.